Guys, let me start first with AJ. You know, so every journey starts with one step. Kind of describe for me the moment when you thought doing a film about David's life was something that you wanted to do.
I met Crosby when he was 69 years old. He's working on what was his first solo album in 20 years, an album called Cross. The movie he talks about, he's made 4 solo albums in the last 5 years, and when I met him, I was totally astonished by what he was doing. The music was fresh and not tired, and right there I realized, like, someone should be documenting this. Someone should be making a film about this, because he tells great stories, and then he agreed to let me shoot some footage. And the minute I focused the camera on him, I realized, like, wow, my assumption or my kind of hunch was right.
So David, I got to think at first you must have been somewhat ambivalent about having someone tell your life. Tell me about that.
Well, imagine you're naked in public. Yeah, I can see it blossom in your head. You're thinking, that's not so great. I wanted to do it because I felt it was the only opportunity I'd had where anybody would let me, would not only let me, but encourage me, help me, aid me to tell the truth. Look, when you make a documentary about anybody, skip who it's about. You want to know what matters to them. You want to know what's going on in their head. You want to know who they love, what they're afraid of, what's their dream. That's the stuff I want to know. I want to know who they are inside. And you don't get there by taking a surfacey, little shallow look. And most of the documentaries that I have seen are very shallow. They do not tell you anything really about the person. They tell you what they did, or how famous they are, or how cool they are, and then they discovered electricity, and then they went, found California, and they don't really tell you the truth about the human being. And the appeal to me was that I knew that these guys would not let me down, that they would be truthful, even merciless, that they would not give me or anybody else any room to hide.
Well, how much of that scared you about?
Didn't scare me. I've lived my life in public for 50 years. You know, it doesn't scare me.
So, Cameron, for those people who don't know that you have a long history with David, tell me about how he was when you first met him as opposed to today.
He's bitter looking.
I don't know. I think it's good. I think the current look is happening. Yeah. It's the hat, really.
Yeah.
The hat sets it all
Jan
off.
made the hat. Thank you,
Jan Crosby's hat making skills kind of like makes us all relevant, a little more relevant. He was just your dream of somebody. You go to spend some time with a musical hero. You're 16. You don't know what's going to happen. I had every possible question in the world. I was ready to pivot in any direction. And he spent hours with me, not even really knowing what my publication was, Crawdaddy. He just answered every question, and they came and said, "You're late for the next thing." He's like, "No, I'm going to stay with this kid." He answered every question. I've basically been interviewing him ever since because there's a kind of noble, brutal honesty about this guy. And if you're sitting in the seat where you are, it's the most fun ever because you don't have to stress what you're going to ask or if they're going to pivot away from you. He's there, he's present, and it's just so fun to spend time talking with him.
Well, they say, doing an interview is kind of a bit of a dance. You have to know when to push, when to back off, when to probe. Like during the process, for you especially, David, I mean, was it painful at times? I mean, were there times that you thought,
Yes.
forget this,
Yeah, no. Like I said, they're conscientious filmmakers. They're not going to ask me softballs. He didn't throw any softballs. He asked me hard stuff. They both did. Cameron probably asked me the hardest questions I've ever been asked. I signed up for that. I was expecting that.
The one thing I really loved about the film was all the archival stuff. Yeah. And tell me about what kind of net that you threw to find this stuff.
Large net.
Very large.
It's a net experience, really.
Totally, yeah. We had the best archival research team. One of the best decisions that you can make as a filmmaker, as a director, is to hire the dream team, which we had. The best But I'm really proud of the archival research team, and they found footage that we didn't even know existed.
I didn't know existed.
Yeah.
I think them and the editors, man, deserve a lot of credit. They did a great job. They recovered some sailing footage from a friend of mine who'd been sailing thousands of miles with me. And it was absolutely a gift from God. You couldn't believe how beautiful this stuff was. We had to repair it and recover it because it was sitting in a cardboard box in somebody's garage, right? But, oh man, was that stuff good for the film.
A couple more weeks in that garage and that film wouldn't have been playable.
And that stuff shows you a thing about me that's important, the dream. You want to know what I dream about? I dream about that.
Wow.
I love that, man.
You read these interviews of filmmakers saying, you know, we lovingly recreated the 60s. We got all the clothes and we went through photos and we found where it's like...
The glass in the same spot.
Yes, and we put it in the same spot. And then you find, like, in a box, footage from 50 years ago, and it's perfect. And it gives you the feeling of the time. It's my favorite part of the movie. Where you just get surrounded with this sense of, like, nobody's trying to sell you the time. This was the time.
And I did tell them, no, you can't put my naked ass in the movie. And they went ahead and did.
I didn't know it was your naked ass until yesterday.
It's yours.
It was an anonymous ass
naked
for so
one.
long. Now, you know, it's actually his ass.
That naked guy was holding a sextant. He was the navigator. Hello.
No, I got to wonder. I mean, this is kind of like the history of rock and roll. I'm kind of curious, like young people in the business. You know, people who see this film now. Like what do you want for them to take away from seeing this movie?
There's a lot of stuff about young people in the business now, and if we want them to learn something from this, we want them to learn that making the music is like the Holy Grail. Celebrity doesn't mean doodly. Fame doesn't mean anything. All of those things. Money is a tool. Money is a great servant and a poor master. Don't let it run your life. Those things you got to know going in. We have tried to be honest with them and tell them that it's very difficult now for young people, mainly because of streaming. Streaming doesn't pay us. It's like you did your job for a month and they gave you a nickel. The proportion is completely incorrect. So young people can't get started because they can't sell any records. They don't get paid on records. I don't get paid on records either, but that's okay. I can do live shows and make a living, half as much as I used to, but I can make a living with live. It's a real unkind thing to new music and new people.
I was going to say one of the things, the responsibility that we had, because his music means so much to so many people. We wanted to make a movie that addressed that audience, but also an audience of new fans that may not know who he is, and legions of young people are responding to his music.
A very quick final question: when you saw the finished film, what was your final verdict?
Oh, I was very happy. We wanted the same thing, and we did it. And it wasn't easy, and they knew how. And we did it anyway, whether easy or not. I think all three of us are proud of it, and we're all pretty picky guys. we don't like trash, you know. And so it was important that we be able to be proud of it.
He's been approached dozens of times to do a documentary. The fact that they trusted me, he and Jan, to come into their life, and the fact that Cameron stood by, you know, worked with us on the movie and produced this movie is an amazing.
It's wonderful.